ॐ विश्वं दर्पणदृश्यमाननगरी तुल्यन्निजान्तर्गतं पश्यन्नात्मनि मायया बहिर्वोद्भूतं यथा निद्रया यस्साक्षात् कुरुते प्रबोधसमये स्वात्मानमेवाद्वयं तस्मै श्रीगुरुमूर्तये नमः इदं श्रीदक्षिणामूर्तये बीजस्यान्तरिवाङ्कुरो जगदिदं प्राङ्निर्विकल्पं पुनः मायाकल्पितदेशकालकलना वैचित्र्यचित्रीकृतं मायावीव विजृम्भयत्यभिमः योगी वयस्वेच्छया तस्मै श्रीगुरुमूर्तये नमः इदं श्रीदक्षिणामूर्तये तस्मै श्रीगुरुमूर्तये नमः इदं श्रीदक्षिणामूर्तये ॐ सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यङ्करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै ॐ शान्तिः 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 सदाशिवसमारम्भां शङ्कराचार्यमध्यमाम् अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्तां वन्दे गुरुपरम्पराम् ॐ वर्स् नंबर 9 ज्ञातेत्युच्यते कुम्भः मृदा लिप्तो न कुत्रचित् धीमात्रव्याप्तकुम्भस्य ज्ञातत्वं नेष्यते तथा. So Vidyaranya wants to differentiate between Chit and Chidabhasa. So Sakshi, Kutastha, Chit, Brahma, Atma, all are synonyms. And same way Chidabhasa, Pramata, Ahankara, Jiva are also synonyms. So to differentiate between Chit and Chidabhasa, well, Vidyaranya deals with Vidyaranya highlights the differences in the function of Chit and Chidabhasa. And we have seen these functions and the differences, of course, up to the verse 7, or in context of verse number 7. Through that, he gave an example to show the differences. He took an example of a pot. So, in that there are few points. Through the example of pot, we came to know the differences between Chit and Chidabhasa through the function. There are few points in that. First is, well, before the knowledge of pot, it is called a Ajnatagataha, unknown pot. That which is this Ajnatagataha is illumined by the Sakshi. And because Chidabhasa has not yet, come, definitely still that unknown pot has been revealed. It's definitely due to Sakshi. Sakshi reveals that. Very word unknown, that adjective unknown pot. So that adjective unknown, well, definitely indicates that Chidabhasa has not yet arrived. So it is Sakshi Bhasyam. Then the second point is, then there will be a pot thought, Ghatakara Vritti arrives, and then Vrittistha Chidabhasa, the Chidabhasa which is there in that Vritti. Well, also, Vritti arises, Chidabhasa also arises, and then both have a very brief existence. And they basically pervade the pot, illumine the pot. So, definitely generates pot knowledge, and then Chidabhasa also goes along with the Vritti. So, Chidabhasa does what? Chidabhasa removes the previous adjective. Unknown, that adjective has been removed by Chidabhasa, and it replaces by a new adjective of the pot, and that is known pot. So this is the second thing. So Chidabhasa's function. Chidabhasa's function is to remove the adjective, previous adjective, and replaces with a new adjective, you can say. Then the third thing is this vritti, Chidabhasa, will definitely subside after doing job, and for rest of the life you will have the part knowledge we call known part, etc. So the part knowledge is revealed by Sakshi, or the Gnata Gataha, known part now, throughout the life, is revealed by again Sakshi. So anybody if comes and asks you, do you know the part or not? Well, you will say, I know the part. So part is known to you. That part is known to you, that part knowledge you have is revealed by Sakshi. So, and now when the person is asking, definitely in your mind there is a different type of a vritti, different type of a, then the Chidabhasa, etc. will, different object of the vritti will be there. Chidabhasa also will definitely illuminate. So while after, knowing other things also, still that part knowledge is there which is revealed by the Sakshi. Gnatagata exists for you throughout the life. It is revealed by Sakshi. So at any moment of the life, there is a huge list of unknown things, known things. Both are revealed by Sakshi. Their existence is revealed by Sakshi. Even right now, Pancadasi, let us say, I imagine like this, that you know now the 7 chapters. So 7 chapters are known to you. If I ask you how many chapters in Pancadasi do you know, you say, well, I know 7 chapters now. In general, 7 chapters are known to me, and rest 8 to 15 chapters are unknown to me. So known Pancadasi, unknown Pancadasi, even if I ask at this moment, you say this much is known, this much is unknown, is revealed by Sakshi. Right? It is general, this kind of a thing. And you are seeing me and answering me. So in your mind, while my words are there, my form may be there, that is revealed by Chidabhasa. But your knowledge of Pancadasi, etc., is revealed by Sakshi. Or your ignorance about Pancadasi, about the rest of the chapters also is revealed by Sakshi. So this is how it is. So these are the few points in that example, with the example of the part knowledge and etc. The function of the Sakshi, function of the Chidabhasa has been revealed. This is up to verse number 7. Then verse 8 to 12 will have a little diversion, little technical points are there in which Purvapakshi is going to ask a question. That also we saw. In that Purvapakshi said, well, this is not a fair thing. You allot a function to only 2 things, Chidabhasa and Chit. What about the vritti? We should allot some function to the vritti. And so let us take it little in a broader sense. That Sakshi illumines unknown part ignorance, let us say. Part ignorance is illumined by Sakshi. Then part is illumined by the vritti. And then part knowledge is revealed by Chidabhasa. So all will have a function. You don't allot a whole, all functions between Chidabhasa and Chit. No. Vritti also has a role, and therefore let us do this way. Part ignorance revealed by Sakshi. Part is revealed by Chidabhasa. Part knowledge is revealed by part is revealed by vritti, and part knowledge is revealed by Chidabhasa. Not part is revealed by Chidabhasa. No. Part is revealed by vritti. Part knowledge, you don't say part knowledge is revealed by Sakshi. Part knowledge is revealed by Chidabhasa. Let us keep that way. That was a question in verse number 8. And then in verse number 9, we replied it also. Vidyaranya says, this vritti you are saying, or vritti vyapti, because vritti will be always pervading the object. That is how vritti has that object. So vritti or vritti vyapti can't generate knowledge without the help of Chidabhasa. And the reason also has been given in the verse 9 itself, in which we said vritti is also as much jadam as that part, the object. So vritti is also born of mind. Mind is born of subtle elements, panchamahabhutas, subtle elements. Whereas that part object is definitely is a product of a sthula bhutas. So difference between a jada ghata vritti and the jada ghata is in terms of only a subtle elements and gross elements. That's it. And therefore, how can a unknown part, the gross object, become a known part just by applying a coating of a mud? It's an example. Like a pot is there outside, right? Which is jadam. You apply another, you pervade that pot with another layer of a mud. Do you think by just applying another layer of a mud, pot is known? No, pot cannot be known like that. Same way, mridalipta kumbhaha gryataha iti na uchyate. Well, because just you apply, pervade that pot with the another layer of a that mud, the pot cannot be known. Same way, dhimatra vyapta kumbhasya. So that kumbha, that pot, if it is pervaded by, now not mud, but pervaded by that the vritti, which is also equally jadam, like that mud, cannot make the pot known. So dhimatra vyapta kumbhasya, that is this ghatakara vritti, which pervades that pot, well, still the pot will remain unknown. So Purvapakshi does not negate Chidabhasa, we should understand. But he says, let us use Chidabhasa for something else. Let us give the function of knowing the pot, well, through the vritti only. So, well, this is the answer we give. Any layer, any kind of a pervasion, a jada, pervaded by a jada, cannot make the things known. So that's how he gave example of a layer of a pot. Here it is a vritti, of course. The pot is pervaded by the vritti, which is equally jadam, made up of 5 subtle elements. Well, still pot remains unknown. You definitely require Chidabhasa. So Jnatattvam naiva ishyate. The pot will never be known, even if it is pervaded by a vritti. Chidabhasa should be utilized, well, for knowledge, generating knowledge of the pot. Verse number 10. Jnatattvam nama kumbhe tat chidabhasa phalodayah na phalam brahma chaitanyam manat pragapi sattvatah. So question is, if vritti by itself without assistance of a chidabhasa cannot generate this jnatattvam, knownness of the pot, then what can generate knownness of the pot? So for that Vidyaranya says, well, knownness basically cannot be generated by vritti but by chidabhasa. Tad jnatattvam. Tad jnatattvam means that knownness. That knownness of the pot means that knownness means the knownness which cannot be generated by the vritti, that knownness, well, is chidabhasa phalodayah. That knownness is a pervasion, or that knownness is generated by the pervasion of a chidabhasa along with the vritti. We have to say that way. Chidabhasa has that luminosity. Chidabhasa on this Ghatakara vritti helps basically to reveal that Ghata. Chidabhasa in the mind cannot help. Please understand that. Chidabhasa in the mind cannot help. Chidabhasa in the dravyamsha of the mind cannot help. Chidabhasa in the vritti amsha of the mind definitely helps to reveal that object. So as the Ghatakara vritti travels to the pot, pervades the pot, and same with the Chidabhasa which is there in the vritti also travels along with the vritti, and as the vritti pervades the object outside, well, the Chidabhasa also equally pervades the object, and the object is revealed. And therefore, Jnatattva Jananam, well, is the knownness which is generated is definitely is through Chidabhasa. So Chidabhasa upon the vritti basically pervades the pot, which is, and that is given name here phalam. We are interested in this verse. Well, this phalam, we call it phala vyapti there. So that is being explained here. So why it is called phalam, etc. So this is basically Chidabhasa is called phalam. So Chidabhasa, which Chidabhasa? Vritti Pratibimbita Chidabhasa. We can call even Vishaya Vyapaka Chidabhasa. That Chidabhasa is called phalam. And because, and therefore he says here, Chidabhasa phala udaya. So Chidabhasa udaya, rising of the Chidabhasa, well, is called Chidabhasa udaya is called phalodaya, because Chidabhasa is called phalam. So phalodaya or phalavyapti, even we can, that is called Jnatattva. Why do we call phalam? Well, because the phalam is due to some effort, the result is after some effort. And that, what is the effort here? Pramana vyapara. So basically pramana parvritti. So operation of the pramana, operation of this vritti, pramana here means mind. So operation of the pramana has resulted into this jnana. So pramana vyapara phalam is shortened as a phalam. We should understand, because as the vritti arises, as you employ your means of knowledge called here mind, so vritti arises. And well, vritti arises, and then well, vritti pervades, and Chidabhasa also pervades. So that ultimately that Vishaya Jnanam takes place of the object. I mean, the pot is revealed, that is pot knowledge. So pot knowledge is a result, but is ultimately due to this Chidabhasa alone. So even though Vishaya Jnanam is a phalam of the Pramana Vyapara, of the Pramana Pravritti, of the basically Pramana Pravritti, but then basically this Chidabhasa alone is responsible for that. So this Chidabhasa also is called phalam. Actually phalam is Pramana Vyapara phalam, Pramana Pravritti phalam. What is Pramana Pravritti phalam? Vishaya Jnanam, pot knowledge. So pot knowledge is generated, of course the responsible thing is Chidabhasa. So Pramana Vyapara phalam is possible because of the Chidabhasa. Chidabhasa is shortened, Chidabhasa is called as a phalam. Or we can call it as a Pramana Pravritti phalam is shortened as a phalam, and that phalam is, word is used for Chidabhasa. So phala vyapti is Chidabhasa vyapti. Vritti vyapti along with phala vyapti. Why Chidabhasa is called phalam? Vritti vyapti, as the vritti pervades the object, you should say Chidabhasa pervades the object. Why do you call, instead of a Chidabhasa vyapti, why do you call phala vyapti? Because ultimately the Vishaya Jnanam takes place, pot knowledge takes place, that is phalam. That is due to Pramana Vyapara, Pramana Pravritti, Vritti Vyapti, etc. Right? Mind. Pramana is mind here, Vritti Vyapti. So due to that Pramana Pravritti alone that is happening, Vishaya Jnanam. So Pramana Pravritti phalam, which is Vishaya Jnanam, in that the responsible factor is Chidabhasa, not the Vritti. And therefore, even Pramana Pravritti phalam Vishaya Jnanam is shortened as phalam just to indicate that Chidabhasa. Therefore, it is phalodaya, Chidabhasa phalodaya. Chidabhasa eva phalam, tasya udaya. That's it. That is called Jnatattvam. That is called the knownness of the pot knowledge. And from second line, Vidyaranya enters into a little more diversion. Well, he says this Chidabhasa, which is generated naturally as a result of Pramana Vyapara, is basically, it is Janyam. Because as the vritti arises, that also arises. Therefore, it is janyam. And therefore, if Chidabhasa is a janyam, well, which arises along with the vritti, as the vritti subsides, Chidabhasa subsides. Therefore, Chidabhasa is janyam, then it is anityam. Whereas Chit, Brahma Chaitanyam, Sakshi Chaitanyam, Kutastha Chaitanyam is not a phalam of a pramana vyapara, not janyam, not karyam. So therefore it is nityam. So they are different. Brahma Chaitanyam, Sakshi Chaitanyam, Kutastha Chaitanyam is nityam, not karyam. Whereas this Chidabhasa or phalam, well, which is a anityam. So phalam, he says in second line, na phalam brahma chaitanyam bhavati. This brahma phalam, Chidabhasa, brahma chaitanyam is not Chidabhasa. Or phala, this, let us say Chidabhasa is not brahma chaitanyam. There is a distinction that it cannot be equated. Chidabhasa cannot be equated as a sakshi. Why? Because manat prag api. Before the effort to gain that knowledge. Manat here means, manam means pramanam. Pramanat pragapi means pramana vyaparat pragapi. Well, because before even you put an effort to gain knowledge, well, Sakshi was already existent. So this Sakshi is a Nitya Chaitanyam, whereas what is there in the pot, knowledge, etc., well, that Jnanam is a Anitya Chaitanyam. Vritti Jnanam, etc. is Anitya Chaitanyam. Sarupa Jnanam, or can say Brahma Chaitanyam, or the Jnanam which is of Sarupa, Brahma Chaitanyam, etc. is distinct. And that is distinct actually. So Anitya Chaitanyam, Nitya Chaitanyam. Or you can say Swarupa Jnanam, Anitya Jnanam. Either way. So Manat means Praman Vyaparat, Pragapi, even before that. Even you operate a means of knowledge, well, to gain a knowledge of a particular object, well, before that even the Sakshi Chaitanyam exists, and therefore it is Nityam, it is not Phalam. Whereas when you operate a means of knowledge, the Vritti arises, as the Vritti arises, that Chidabhasa arises, Phalam arises, well, that Chidabhasa, Phalam arises, and then definitely there will be a Vritti Jnana, Vishaya Jnana, etc. So that is different. You can say in general, Sarupa Jnanam, Vishaya Jnanam are different. Sarupa Jnanam is Nityam, not a Karyam. Vritti Jnanam is a Karyam, it is a Nityam, etc. So, na phalam Brahma Chaitanyam. Why? Because Manat Pragapi Sattvataha. Sattvataha means it exists. Brahma Chaitanyam basically exists even before you operate a means of knowledge. Before even a Vritti arises, Chidabhasa arises, etc. also. It is there. And it is there all along during the Vritti Jnanam also, where this process takes place of Vritti Vyapti, Phala Vyapti, at that time also it exists. And afterwards, of course, also, well, it exists. And therefore, that is different from this Chidabhasa, Phalam. Brahma Chaitanya is different from Phalam, Chidabhasa. And that leads to a question where, and then answer to that question also, he gives. So in verse number 11, he quotes now a Vartikam from Sureshwaracharya, where he has clearly equated Brahma Chaitanyam as Chidabhasa. It seems. And well, then we basically clarify in verse number 12. Verse number 11. Paragartha prameyeshu ya phalatvena sammata samvit saiveha meyorthaha Vedantokti Pramanataha. This is a Vartikam, and on Sureshwaracharya has written Vartikam on several things, and several, Upanishad. Taittiriya Upanishad also has a Vartikam, Brihadaranyaka Upanishad also has a Vartikam. This seems to be from Brihadaranyaka Upanishad Vartikam. There are around 12,000 verses in the Vartikam on Brihadaranyaka Upanishad, because it's a very large Upanishad. And in that, it seems this is a 1159. Anyway. So, here, In verse number 10, we have already discussed that Vidyaranya has established that Chit and Chidabhasa are not identical. But the problem is, if you read this Sureshwaracharya's Vartikam, which is on Brihadaranyaka Bhashyam 1159, Sureshwaracharya ji has equated the Brahma Chaitanyam, Sakshi Chaitanyam and Chidabhasa, Phalam. That is the problem. So, since definitely Brahma Chaitanyam, Sakshi Chaitanyam appears alone as a this Chidabhasa, sometime figuratively we take them as one and the same. And not only misuse interchangeably in a vyavara, in a words. And there are several examples, even if you leave aside this Chidabhasa, etc. We use interchangeably for image and for the original. We do that. And the best example they give is an example of my photo and myself. Like suppose I am there in a group, some group photo, I am also there. And I am showing that group photo to my friend, and my friend says, "Where are you?" Well, this dress I am distinct, but I am saying in general of a past, let's say. Well, where are you in this group? There's a big, large group, 100 students, suppose. And I am one of them in his school days. Then where are you? If so, he asks me, what will I say? I never say that my image is there, right? It's an image. Photo is an image, but I never say my image is there. I am there. See, I am here, or you can say I am here. So I am, and even this friend also doesn't, take an objection. You are sitting beside me. How can you say that you are there in the photo? You should say your image is there in the photo. Why are you saying like that? But friend also doesn't ask. That shows that the original and image has been interchangeably used in words. That's for sure. And then other example also is there in that mantra appears in several Upanishads also. Na tatra suryo bhati na chandra tarakam nema vidyuto bhanti kutoya magnihi tameva bhantam anubhati sarvam tasya bhasa sarvamidam vibhati. So, well, basically, na tatra suryo bhati. Tatra means tasmin. Tasmin means in this consciousness. This sun doesn't shine and etc. etc. So basically what it wants to convey is Chaitanyam alone illumines all the luminaries, external luminaries. Maybe lightning, maybe a moon, maybe a sun. Ultimately, all the luminaries which illumine the world are illumined by the consciousness. That is tasya bhasa. By its illumination, luminosity itself, everything shines. So Chaitanya alone illumines everything. And strictly speaking, that is not true. Chaitanya does not illumine everything. Chaitanya illumines the mind. Then mind will form Chidabhasa. We have discussed that. And that Chidabhasa illumines the world. But the mantra never says. Mantra says Chaitanya alone illumines everything. If Chaitanya illumines everything, everyone will be Sarvajna. Because everything is illumined, I am Chaitanya, and therefore Chaitanya illumines everything, the entire world. Well, I will have a knowledge of everything simultaneously. But that is not the case. And therefore we should say Chaitanya illumines the mind, basically as a Sakshi, and then mind definitely, which is blessed with this Chaitanya, is formed a Chidabhasa, etc. So mind along with the Chidabhasa, of course Vritti along with the Chidabhasa illumines the world. But this kind of a distinction between Chit and Chidabhasa has not been shown in that mantra. So that kind of conventions are there. So we can say the Chidabhasa basically is like a avatar of a Chaitanya. That way also we can say. And avatara, well, definitely, avatara itself, in the avatara itself, Bhagavan identifies with the original. So, Chidabhasa is avatar of a Chit. So, well, we can even say, interchangeably we can use it. It doesn't mean they are identical. They are not identical. But, well, definitely we can interchangeably use. And that's how Vartikara also has done. Bhagavan says in the 4th chapter, well, imam vivasvate yogam proktavan aham avyayam. I have given this knowledge which I am giving you right now, or I have given in the second chapter, etc. Well, that knowledge I have already given to the Lord Son in the beginning of the creation. How can you give? You are right now here. And you said you in the beginning of the creation, how can you be there? Because we are born on so and so date in Gokulam, etc. Well, definitely, or in Mathura, whatever it is. So basically, that issue will be there with me. Don't worry about it. So basically, point is, how can you give? So Avatara has been identified with the original. The Vishnu and this Krishna has been identified by Bhagavan himself does. So if Chidavasa, if you take as an avatar of a Chit, well then Chidavasa can be used interchangeably. It does not mean they are identical. They are really not identical. Avatara has a definite span of life and a certain specific functions. And Ishvara will have a function of, we generally define it as a function of creation and sustenance and dissolution, etc. Whereas this avatara has a specific things. Of establishing dharma, etc. That we know, paritranaya sadhunam, etc. Bhagavan clearly mentions the function of a avatara. And therefore, they are just identical. Identical means one, we cannot say. We cannot say. Chidavasa is avatara and it has a different function than Chit. What the function of a Chit is there is not a function of a Chidavasa. What is the function of Chidavasa is not a function of Chit. And therefore, they are not identical. And even if Vartikakara has used as identical, well, that is because we definitely use, and for that purpose I have given you so many examples. So what we should understand is, relationship between Chit Chidavasa, Satyamithya is Bhinnatva Abhinnatva Vilakshana. That is the thing. What it means is, well, you cannot say that yeah, okay. So we cannot say they are one and the same, and well, we cannot say they are totally separate from each other. And so Chidavasa is different and presented as a identical, just in the Vartikam, because this kind of examples are there. And this verse basically is bodily lifted from this Vartikam on Brihadaranyaka Upanishad. What is the meaning here? So, sa samvit ihaiva meyaha arthaha. Sa samvit. Samvit means this Swarupa Chaitanyam, Brahma Chaitanyam. Sa, that. Why that has been used? Because we'll see the first line later. First, let us see the second line. So, sa samvit ihaiva meya artha. That Swarupa Chaitanyam, well, or Brahma Chaitanyam, is meya artha, prameya artha, vishaya, is the subject matter of discussion. So, for where? Well, in the entire Vedanta Shastra, for entire Shastra, Brahman alone is the subject matter. So, or Brahman alone is known through Vedanta Vakya, Praman, Mahavakya, etc. So, Vedantokti Pramanataha, well, Vedantokti Pramanataha, Sa Samvit Eva Iha Meya Artha. Meya Artha, Prameya Artha means, well, basically, that is the subject matter, which the Brahman alone is the subject matter in the Vedanta Shastra, which we will know through Vedanta Vakyas, etc. And then come to the second line, first line. So, ya parag artha prameyeshu phalatvena sammata sa samvit, like that. So, what it means is that Chaitanyam, which is available in the form of a Chidavasa, which reveals different sense objects, objects of knowledge. Ya phalatvena sammata, that Brahma Chaitanyam is understood as a Chidavasa. Phalatvena means phala rupena. Samvit alone, that samvit which you know through the Vedanta Shastra, which is the subject matter of the entire Vedanta Shastra, which you know through Vedantokti Pramanata, through the Vakyas of the Vedanta, that samvit alone, well, basically is available in the form of a Chidavasa when you know Paragartha Prameshu. when you know the external objects. That Sambit alone, in the form of a Chidabhasa, is obtained in this, in the knowledge of external objects. See, it says here, Parag Artha Prameshu. Parag means external, and Artha means object. The external object, Prameshu, when they become known, definitely that Brahma Chaitanyam alone is obtained there. How? Phalatvena. So, Phalarupena, in the form of a Chidabhasa. So, Sureshwaracharya says, well, when clip is known, Brahma Chaitanyam is there in the clip, or on the clip, let us say, as Chidabhasa. So, this is how clip becomes known. So, he has totally equated Brahma Chaitanyam and Chidabhasa. So, we can definitely say Chidabhasa Abhinna Chaitanyam, Chidabhasa Abhinna Brahma Chaitanyam is the subject matter of, well, of entire Vedanta. So, how do you reconcile it? Well, as I said very well, that when you say that I am in the photo, definitely it only means my image is there in the photo. So, when Sureshwaracharya says the Brahma Chaitanyam alone is available in this different Vishaya Jnanam, Vritti Jnanam, etc., well, we have to take it that it is in the form of a Chidabhasa. And he mentions very clearly Phalatvena. Well, it is available in the form of a Chidabhasa when you know varieties of the external objects. So, means they are similar, not an identical. We have to understand that. Identity, even though it has been mentioned as Brahma Chaitanyam or Sambit alone as a Chidabhasa, look like it has been shown as an identity, we have not to take it them as just one. Here identity has a meaning of a similarity. Chit and Chidabhasa are not one and the same. As I told you, one is Anityam, one is Nityam, and one is just pervading that a limited thing. Brahma Chaitanyam actually pervades everything. That's how its name is Brahman. Anyway, so that is, one is generated, one is not generated, etc. So definitely, and Brahma Chaitanyam cannot, just because of that, the Vishaya Jnanam cannot take place. Chidabhasa is very much required. Chidabhasa only reveals an object, etc. Brahma Chaitanyam does not reveal an object. So several ways there is a difference. So therefore, Brahma Chaitanyam alone in the form of a Chidabhasa, reveals different external objects and known. So we should not take them as just identical. We should take it as in terms of a similarity. Chit and Chidabhasa are not one and the same. So that has been answered, of course, in the verse number 12. Iti vartikakarena chit sadrishyam vivakshitam brahmachit phalayor vedah sahasrasyam yatah iti. Means in that particular Vartikam shloka of the Sureshwaracharya ji, the language of identity should not be taken as oneness, but in terms of a similarity. Pratibimba is always like a bimba. Pratibimba is equal to bimba, we cannot say. So, Vartika Karana Chit Sadrishyam Vivakshitam. Chit Sadrishyam. So, by Vartika Kara, the similarity between Chit and Chidabhasa is Vivakshitam, is intended here. So, resemblance, of course, is intended. So, Chidabhasa looks like Chit, but not Chit. Because Chidabhasa, Abhasa, right, resemblance. So, Asamantat Bhasate. So, entire Vritti basically is illumined by the Chidabhasa. And then thereby, of course, Vritti is in the form of a Vishaya, and therefore the whole Vishaya also is illumined by the Chidabhasa. So, basically, Chidabhasa looks like Chit, but not Chit. But how do you know that Vartikara has this intention of a similarity between Chidabhasa and Chit and not in just identity between them? How do you know it? Have you taken in his interview? No. Dhyarana says, if you raise Purupaksha like this, by quoting the Sureshwaracharya ji, who is a Shishya, I will give you reply by quoting his Guru Shankaracharya ji. That's what he says. So he says, well, the Guru has accepted the difference between Chit and Chidabhasa, and therefore the Shishya must have accepted the difference between Chit and Chidabhasa. So even though a language of identity has been used in the Vartikam, we should not take it as a language of identity but language of similarity. And that is what has been told. And where Shankaracharya has mentioned Sahasryam Vishrutoho, Sahasryam. So in Upadesha Sahasri, in chapter 18, verse 32 onwards, well, Shankaracharya clearly talks about the differences between Chit and Chidabhasa by taking an example of a Mukham and Mukhabhasa, the face and the reflected face in the mirror, etc. So, well, that is how he showed the difference. And therefore, the Sureshwaracharya also must have a intention of just a similarity between the two, because the revelation is a similarity. Revelation, Chit also reveals and Chidabhasa also reveals, but so there is a similarity is there, but Chit is not equal to Chidabhasa, and therefore we should take here as a Chit Sadrishyam, not Chit Phalayoho Aikyam, Chit Phalayoho Sadrishyam. We have to take. This is what is there. We'll talk on Wednesday again. Om Purnamadav Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om.